You must listen to the Power of Three podcast, or you will be exterminated by the Emperor.
And that jarring cacophony tells you that you're listening to the Power of Three podcast, the Scottish Doctor Who podcast without portfolio, going here, there, and everywhere up the stairs, down the stairs, and in my lady's chamber to bring you all the biggest and best Doctor Who content.
What is he talking about? I'm away. I'm off. Had enough.
Stairs. Or what are we talking about here? Things that can't go up and down stairs.
Stairs.
For goodness sake, Kenny.
I don't remember any stairs at all in the 3 episodes of Doctor Who I've watched twice in the last 2 days.
No, there'll be a reason for that.
Don't tell them what we're here for yet.
Oh, all right.
Well, they can probably work it out, but they can probably work it out by the description and everything and the witty title that you've given it.
Oh, that's very true.
And I'm not.
Anyway, that doesn't matter. You're listening to the Power of Three podcast. I'm Kenny Smith, and I'm joined by 3 very cheeky monkeys. One can speak no evil, one can see no evil, and one can hear no evil.
I beg your pardon.
What?
Well, you've taken your glasses off. One of you's got a cough, and the other one has got fingers in your ear. So, anyway.
One of us is throwing poo at the screen.
As usual.
Sorry.
As usual.
It's a habit I'm trying to break.
Yes. Well, there are 4 of us here.
That's all from the Power of Three this week.
That's all you need to know.
Absolutely. Well, better tell you who's here. We've got Dangerous Dave.
Aye, right. Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining us.
We've got Psychotic Steevie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Excuse me while I just take some Varga thorns out from me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're in trouble. And then we've got, well, I don't want to say Jolted John because that name's already taken, so we'll go for Jumping Jehoshaphat John.
I was going to say Mavic John.
Mavic John.
Oh, Mavic John, yeah.
Look at my pinky.
Mavic Chen. Mavic Chen. I love that. It's a shame we didn't get episodes 9 and 11 because then I could have watched episode 10 again, which has the brilliant, I will now give the Terrarium Core to Mavic Chen. Brilliant. I love the way
Not Magic Chen, he says first.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's great. Oh, dear me. Anyway.
So yes, 3 new Doctor Who episodes for us. Well, 2 new episodes plus one that makes it feel like it's a new one as well. So Dalek Master Plan 1, 2 and 3. So who was up at 6 o'clock to watch them?
No.
I actually woke up at 6 on Friday, but I didn't actually watch it.
Friend of the show, Matthew Purchase, was up bang on because he was tweeting with some screenshots and waiting for it to go live. Bless him. No, I got up at about... No, I've interrupted you there, Kenny. Sorry, I apologise.
That's all right. No, I didn't actually watch it until just after 8 because I was actually up at 6, but I went out
Call yourself a fan?
Yeah, I went out for a quick morning run as I usually do and thought I'll have that while I'm watching my breakfast. It's Good Friday, so I'll do that. So I watched parts 1 and 2 before work and then watched episode 3 at lunchtime.
Oh.
I came up with a plan and I was able to execute it perfectly. I got up, I think about back 8 o'clock, had my Crunchy Nut cornflakes and watched The Nightmare Begins. Went for my bath, propped up my phone so I could watch Dave Armageddon whilst in the bath. Got out of the bath, finished Dave Armageddon whilst I got dressed and stuff. Nipped round to Greg's for a tea and a bacon and omelette roll and came back up and watched episode 3 whilst I consumed my tea and bacon roll and got my and got ready to head over to the opticians in Annie's Land for my contact lens checkup and eye test. It was amazing.
There we go. Stephen Dave Armageddon, how about you?
I intended to watch it on Friday and then I intended to watch it on Saturday. So I found myself this morning, just before I got out of bed, watching it and then my phone died. Great. And then life got busy. So cooking tea, dinner tonight, nice Easter dinner, Yorkshire puddings, roast beef. Sorry guys, I'm sure you got the invite, but you didn't appear. And so I kind of watched it. I didn't watch it on a big screen, watched it on an iPhone. Just blitzed it and then soaked up Wikipedia after that.
Cool. What about yourself, John?
Well, I didn't get round to it until about 10 o'clock on Friday, but I wanted to, kind of devote some time to it. I also make sure I had enough time to watch it on the big screen and watch the 3 episodes together. So, but I was aware of all the kind of the chat in the background from when I got up on Friday. I could see the excitement of those who had been very eager beavers. But I thought, no, I just need to wait a little bit. And I wanted to wait as well so that I could watch it with not but someone who was maybe not as big into the hype as I had been. And I just wanted to get some unbiased views. So it was a kind of a little Good Friday viewing party with bread and water.
Oh, crikey.
In keeping with the penitential tone of the day for those who observe such things.
I was just thinking that's very apt, so
yeah, I'm that kind of guy. That's how I roll.
Watched them again this afternoon because we're a Doctor Who watching family, the Steels. So Alice and I jumped through at Mum's today. We had a lunch, and then because, as I said before we start recording, like my mum's Virgin Media box is out of date, needs upgraded, so iPlayer doesn't work at the moment, which is very useful. So Alison brought her laptop, and we watched all 3 episodes. We all sat on the couch in a row together and watched the 3 episodes on the laptop, which was joyous. It was a lot of fun. I felt like Toby on behind the sofa. I was kept pointing out facts and clarifying plot points. It was good fun. It was really nice. And I think when my mum sort of said at one point, "How many episodes is this story?" and I went 12, and she went, "Hmm?" I said, "We're not watching all 12. Don't worry.
Sadly.
I wish we could." But I managed to do a really quick, sort of and thorough, off the top of my head, sort of summation of Mission to the Unknown and the myth makers to sort of lead them into it, so they were properly sort of prepped and stuff, and that was fun. I was quite impressed at myself for just really dashing that off.
Good work, Toby. Well, I have to say, I did watch the reconstruction of Mission to the Unknown on Thursday night.
Right.
I didn't watch the redubbed version with the original soundtrack. I just couldn't be arsed looking for that.
I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yeah,
That's
it's on Daily Motion, but I really couldn't be arsed, so I just watched the YouTube version that's got the one with the North Lancashire, whatever they are.
Yeah, it is very good. It's very, very accurate. It's excellent. I had a plan to listen to Horse of Destruction on Thursday, but things got away from me and it didn't happen, so such is life.
Yeah.
Because I was behind time, I couldn't rewatch the episodes again, but I made an interesting discovery on iPlayer. I've often said to the 3 of you, part of my problem with old Doctor Who is it's quite slow. There's a lot of humming and hawing and backwards and forwarding. If you now play with iPlayer at double speed, it retains the original pitch. It doesn't speed anything up. People sound like they are. And boy, does it bang along at a decent speed.
Wow, Crystal D, that's quite impressive.
Leave that in. That's interesting, because I'll get that echoes some of my thoughts actually on part 1. That's interesting.
So John, what were your thoughts on The Nightmare Begins?
Well, I don't want to just sound like going to repeat what everyone else has said, but I was impressed. I was almost trying to talk myself out of being too excited about it, but I just thought it was great. So many superlatives have been bandied about, and rightly so. I think Camfield's direction is just superb. The Dalek Master Plan is not a story that I put my hands up. I'm not overly familiar with. I've listened to the soundtrack once. I don't even think I got into the second volume of the novelization, to be honest. I have it, but I haven't. So I'm not a big, massive Dalek Master Plan expert. That said, I just thought that as an opening episode, this was a really interesting Terry Nation world building story. I thought the setup was really good, and all the kind of like the kind of Earth control room and the banter between the two, the kind of officials, not officials, but like office staff, water cooler. banter about Mavic Chen and all that kind of stuff, I thought was really well done. And there was a hint of humour and cynicism, but you could also see that this is something that would kind of continue into Blake 7. It didn't, well, as far as I'm concerned, there's not a lot of that in his Doctor Who stuff thereafter. But I thought, I could see there's a bit of that kind of Blake 7 stuff in that. And I just thought it was really great to see the first performance of Nicholas Courtney. I thought everything that everyone says about his direction in terms of how good he is in close-ups and things like that, and it's absolutely true. His angles are amazing. When we did the reaction episode, I wasn't able to kind of contribute directly beyond my little voice message, but I remember saying that I was looking forward to, bizarre as it sounded, just having more stills of Hartnell in particular, and boy, there was that in spades with his Van de Graaff generator hair, and lots of different angles as well, lots of different shots. So I thought it was really. I don't want to kind of run ahead of myself, but I thought it was really good to see Katerina again. You know, a character that we know so little about, or at least only from the kind of the soundtrack. But the visuals add a really rich layer to her story and pathos too, I thought. So I just thought, wonderful. I just love seeing new bits of not new bits of the TARDIS, but just new shots of the TARDIS in flight and things like that. So and I was just kind of I was squeeing like a fanboy internally during lots of it.
Fantastic. So Stevie, when you were watching at 2x speed, any highlights for you? Any particular things you liked?
Well, 2x speed, it just zipped along. But at 1x speed, I just loved the direction. I thought the direction was great, and actually it was. I like the director, Douglas Camfield. Yeah, is that right? Mm-hmm. He just seems to have got what's going on. He's got different angles. We're not treated to the normal stuff. He's making use of probably a very small studio to give us again, back to the world building, a huge set, huge forest, nice views of the TARDIS. We don't have to see it all, we just know it's there. And good use of sound effects, I felt, that perpetuate across even now when we're listening to Big Finish stuff. There was the background stuff, which I'm sure crops up. So, I went in with low expectations, because when episodes are recovered and I've read about them and I've listened to them, you're never quite sure what you're going to get, and sometimes it's really disappointing. But I wasn't disappointed here, in fact, and then I'm looking for, there isn't another episode, we're still missing lots, can't watch that. So, 1 speed, double speed, really, really nice.
Give a couple of my quick thoughts for ask Dave for his. Things that I really liked, the stuff between Kurt Gantry and Brett Vion, and particularly that last shot of Kurt Gantry when he's been exterminated. That was horrible. Mm-hmm. Just looked like he'd been burnt. Was not expecting that whatsoever, given that we'd seen the film inserts before, which had been found and restored back in the late 90s, was it mid 90s? Anyway, they found those, and I was expecting those to be dropped in. Slightly surprised that the restoration wasn't quite as sharp as I was expecting, and the sound on both episodes were slightly off, but I suppose they're not giving it the full treatment that we're used to from the Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. Things that I also liked, the guy mouthing along when Mavic Chen's doing his speech, thought that's a lovely little touch. Space control looked great. I thought I saw Matt Lucas at one point, and as one of the technics, and I just thought it was, it moved along so well, and it's just a shame. I wanted to see more of the alien delegates, which sadly we didn't get too much of, but you never know what's going to be in the background when you're listening. And of course, real surprise, no Black Dalek in the first episode. Mm-hmm. It's just all silver casings, and it's very enjoyable. I think as you say, the stuff in the TARDIS is great. Always good to see new TARDIS scenes. Stephen recovering to bop Brett in the back of the neck to knock him out. Yeah. The Doctor having his handy space chair that he just wheeled out.
An invention of mine, the magnetic chair.
Yep, just like Q in Bond films, there's always a gadget for every occasion. But no, very, very enjoyable. And I was more than happy with it. It was a good start. So, Dave, where did you go with it?
Is there much left for me to say? I really enjoyed really impressed what John was saying there about the Blake Sevenness of it. That sort of the level of sort of mid-level bureaucracy kind of echoed quite a few early Blake Seven scenes for me. That's a really interesting point. Very, very Terry Nation. Yeah, it was very hissy, technically. If we're going to complain about it, but I suppose that they want to make the episodes available to everyone as quickly as possible. So this is a good, I suppose, it was good enough, and I think the BBC deserve a lot of credit this time for putting them on iPlayer, so we didn't have to buy them all on iTunes.
Absolutely.
Like we did with The Web of Fear and Enemy of the World. And I wonder if that was anything to do with the circumstances of the episodes being returned and who was involved. I'm not sure. I can only speculate. I got to be brutally honest. And the second time I watched it this afternoon, I felt it flowed a little better. The first time I watched it, I was aware that it was very slow. Quite, but it was doing the setup. I was sitting watching. I can imagine Ben Cook taking notes of what bits he would trim and shorten and tidy up.
Yep.
We've got used to. I think even within Doctor Who in the '60s, I've watched other episodes where the storytelling has been a little pacier. I was so frustrated that they kept missing the flashing light.
Yes.
And I was fascinated. I mean, that's the thing. I was fascinated by the analogness of it because we're so used to. Even now, look at us, the four of us chatting on video calls, which 6 years ago was still a bit of a stretch when lockdown was kicking off. And now it's all fine. So I was amused by the analogness of it. It was wonderful seeing Nicholas Courtney doing so well. The dynamic between him and Brian Cant, who my mum recognised, was very interesting. It was the bit when Brian Cant said, stay here or go, whichever it was he says, go now or I'll kill you. That was fascinating. I was surprised at because it's been a long time since I've watched the loose cannon reconstruction. I was surprised that his death happened so quickly. But it was good to see, like you've all said, it was really good to see Nicholas interacting with Peter Purvis and Bill Hartnell. There were some brilliant frames. Like I loved that there's one point when the brig is sort of leaning against the TARDIS, whilst the Doctor is sort of standing to the left of the frame as you're watching it. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
And you sort of think some of what we were watching, the way the shots were constructed, the way it was acted, performed, and played out, there's no ways about it. It was better than some of the stuff I've been watching on the season 21 box set in the last week or two. There was real imagination. It wasn't just point and shoot. Great seeing the Daleks, hearing the Daleks sound proper, old school Dalek-y, and nice to see a little, Adrian Hill getting a little bit more to do. I have not changed my opinion on Katerina, if anyone's interested, but it was really because at this point, as I always say, Doctor Who is a weekly serial drama. It's not made up of separate sort of stories, so she's a supporting character over 5 episodes. She ain't a companion. Sorry, folks, it's the truth. See me behind the bike sheds, and I'll tell you about Sergeant Benton in the Android Invasion. But no, just basically, I agree with everyone else. It was really nice seeing a bit more Bill and a bit more Peter because Bill's my favourite Doctor. I love Stephen. My favourite thing about this whole development is Peter Purvis has just been utterly thrilled and galvanised by it, and I felt watching it. I just felt so happy for him that he was able to see these, probably for the first time over 60 years after they were broadcast.
Yeah.
Really glad that we're getting to see them. But episode 1, bit hissy, bit slow moving, but I really appreciated everything that was going on.
Yeah, and I also really like the shot where Brett is against the TARDIS listening, overhearing, because I'd always imagined he'd be in the trees or the forest or something, but the fact that he's just round the side of the TARDIS, really nicely done.
It's just what Dave is saying. I mean, there's clever shots and inventive shots, and big heavy machinery, and they're putting it in different places to give us this. For me, a season 21 tie-in here. For me, this is a bit Resurrection of the Daleks back there.
Sure.
Because it's incredibly violent.
Yeah.
Like the tagline of Rogue One, everybody dies. Not quite, but
Sure.
There's a lot of death in there. So it mirrors what we've all just been watching. And in some of the shots and some of the placements, but I agree with Kenny as well. Time constraints probably, but you'd love to shoot this stuff as a film. Yeah. You'd love to bring in your camera, but in the end of the day, you're doing a multi-camera shot.
Yeah.
with heavy equipment, old equipment, whether it's 60s or 80s. So it restricts you, but like that shot against the TARDIS and various other things, it's so nicely done.
Yeah, and you can see how Camfield's rubbed off on Graham Harper as well.
If you pardon the expression.
behind the bike sheds, yeah. No, you can see all the development, and your Blake 7 stuff. I mean, I'm hearing music that goes on to Genesis of the Daleks in here, or style, and that ultimately goes on to Blake 7. Lots of cymbals, lots of drums.
Yeah, general percussion, yeah.
Yes, but, so it's all tying together. I know some people like Terry Nation, some people don't, some people are grumpy about Daleks, but actually when you look at all his stuff that he's done and the world building, whoever mentioned it, comes back into here again. World building and good direction.
Yeah.
Let's have some thoughts on Dame of Armageddon. That's the Panto episode, isn't it? That was a few weeks later.
That's Terry Nation's drag name.
Dame of Armageddon.
So, episode 2, Day of Armageddon. Stephen, Day of Armageddon, what were your thoughts on this one? Just a few brief thoughts and coming back to it.
Again, it's just carrying on from what had happened before. There's a consistency there. I was looking forward to the next episode. There's not too much of a recap, and we're off and running again. I mean, in general, sometimes you get a dip after a first episode, especially a long sort of 12 episode thing. It's like, well, we've done the build up, and now we'll just gently play chess for half an hour and then go, oh, is that the end credits? That didn't. It just carried on. I think the Katrina development is great, and all that happens. Ultimately, knowing what happens to her, it's all quite sad, really.
Yeah, it was good watching it again. I always often wonder who selected that astonishing double-breasted corduroy jacket for Stephen to wear. Was it the Doctor? Did he help him put on his outer space Y fronts and his sensible slacks? Who chose the socks that he was wearing? One thing I liked about this one and episode 3 was I liked Steve and Brett's interactions because they remember, this is the production team remembering that Stephen was a space pilot and he's going to be technically minded, so that was good.
Yeah.
Part 2 is good because it's got the whole thing with the Doctor. I love there's a brilliant bit when the Briggs sort of says, after their initial sort of not getting on very well, when the Briggs says, you're a very brave man. Now, nonsense, dear boy, I'm just doing what has to be done. And you just go, yes! Because all these people that say that the first Doctor wasn't a proactive figure and he wasn't a heroic Doctor, people, I won't name names, but someone who I rate very highly still perpetuates this thing that it was the second Doctor that started to become a proactive hero, that deciding to stop the monsters. This is the Doctor realising that this is a big deal and they're in the position and they've got to do something about it. Him going in to steal the Terrarium Code, it's the bit when all the delegates start, like when the alarm goes off and they all start jumping off the table and running about and you're like, what are you doing? Just sit still, come on, you've got Daleks, you're going to be fine. And the fact that they'll just leave the Terrarium Core just sort of sat there for Billy to grab. And I like, even though I knew what was going to, what happened, I loved the cliffhanger when, the ship, they're going to take off in the spaceship in the spar and leave the Doctor behind. You're like, oh gosh. And am I getting my head? Yeah, I'm getting ahead. I was going to say something else here, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But it was good to watch it again. I hadn't seen it in quite a while, so it was good to watch it, especially being able to watch it in context, following on from watching part 1.
Yep, basically what everyone else has said. I think that was able to kind of enjoy it much more, knowing what had come in episode 1, and the stuff with the delegates just made a bit more sense. I enjoyed the choreography, I have to say, and seeing a bit more of the development of Zephon, I thought was really.
It's worth pointing out that the development of Zephon supported menswear at the Bristol Fleece and Firkin in 1996. Sorry, that's a joke from another podcast.
I'm going to say that's gone over my head completely.
Do you mean you don't listen to the Earth 2 podcast? Gasp.
Well, I missed that. I missed that one, obviously, of the 8,000 episodes.
Hey, there's not as many Earth 2 episodes as Power of 3. Come on. Anyway, back to the plot.
I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, that was all good. I don't want to go down a tangent, but I did get very distracted, and this is possibly very Freudian and unnecessarily exposing, but I got a bit distracted by Stephen's nipple because I wasn't sure that I was seeing a nipple at first. I thought it was a wound, and then I thought, no, it's actually a nipple. And then when I couldn't sleep so well that night, I went down a Doctor Who rabbit hole of trying to work out how many times we've seen an adult nipple in classic Doctor Who.
Watch Planet of Fire, you can't move for them.
Yeah, well, you see, that's what ended up happening then. I was like, I said, obviously it was exclusively male.
Yeah. Is there a reason why it's Kenny's favourite story? Is it because it's the one with the most nipples? Who can say?
Well, it's not the one with the most nipples. I think Kinda is.
Of course.
You know.
Johnny Lee Miller's as well.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah, Jason Connery and Vengeance on Varos.
Sylvester's in the TV movie, and Paul's.
And John Pertwee in Spearhead in Space.
Right, yeah.
There's even a costume malfunction in the Tribe of Gum, if I can use that title. But yeah, right from the start, we have a nip slip.
I did see a tweet actually when someone said had a screenshot of Stephen with his nipple out and a photo of one of the telly snaps from The Smugglers when Michael Craze has his shirt off. And they were sort of going, when are we going to see Jamie? And you're like, right, cool, fair enough.
Okay.
What about Turlo? Does he?
No, I don't think so.
Does he keep his shirt on when he goes swimming? And
he does.
Anyway, back to the plot.
Well, I think back to the plot just before we go. I mean, it's not something you should key in when you're searching for anything, but according to an AI overview, there is no official count of nipples seen in Doctor Who, as the family-orientated sci-fi series and not a production featuring intended or frequent nudity. However, accidental visibility, Italians of Wen Chiang, possibly in the long game, but that's generally debated rather than confirmed, and comedy references in the Curse of the Fatal Death.
Of course.
Okay.
Top listeners, please email to the earth2podcast@gmail.com. Top 5 Doctor Who characters you'd like to see their nipples.
Yeah.
Peter will take great delight in forwarding that on to
finding
Kenny.
screenshots.
Yes.
And then passing them on.
Kenny, what's your thoughts on revisiting Dave Armageddon? Dave Armageddon, that could be my stripper name.
Absolutely could. I've always had a soft spot for this because this was returned when I was having my jaws rewired, and so it meant that I had something to look forward to, i.e. get out of the hospital quickly so I can find out more about it and read all the fan opinion. But I really enjoy episode 2. I love the fact we get to see the alien delegates. You get to see the Mavic Chen frisson with Zephon. Love the fact that Zephon's got such a high opinion of himself. I shall wait here, and getting ready to return when he wants, and very full of himself. And I do love that kind of thing. There's quite a lot of character in there, and obviously there's the build up to the escape from Kimball, taken back to Kendall.
Take him back to Kimball.
And I really enjoy episode 2. I think it's actually, of the 3, it's my favourite. I think there's quite a lot of plot progression there, and the fact that we get to see the Terranium Core and it looks like a tin of beans without a label on it. So
yes, cosplayers, there's a tip for you. If you're doing Katarina for next week's Comic Con, get a tin of beans and take the label off and pretend it's the Terranium Core. If you're wrapping yourself in a curtain, go for it.
Can I say
challenge extended, boys? Let's all cosplay a Dalek Master Plan character the next time we're meeting up. We can all bring our own can of beans.
I'm doing a technique. I'm doing one of the techniques.
Yeah, because remember Novel Experiences when I was angling for you and me and Robert and Johnny to get our photo taken, and Johnny wanted to pose so that you and me and Robert were the techniques. Might put that on the socials with this episode. Watch out for that, listeners, if you can stand the excitement. Let's move on to episode 3. Yes,
Dave. So what were your thoughts on Devil's Planet?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I was delighted that we actually saw Desperus. I remember when I read the book, the 2 books actually of this story, I really enjoyed that sequence. I found that sequence very interesting, and I was not disappointed by how it was realised. Everyone's going nuts on Twitter for the process sort of special effects shot with the torches can be seen walking towards the spaceship. I liked that. We've all seen the clip now with the Doctor and Stephen taking the visors off, and I pointed this out to Alison how Stephen fixes his hair and then fixes his hair again while pointedly looking at the Doctor, and the Doctor just looks like he's had an electric shock. It was, again, to reiterate what I said, it was good to see Stephen and Brett working together. It was good. You know, the edges are blurring. I can't remember which bit this was in, but Stephen sort of reminding us that he knows the Daleks was good. It was interesting. Someone pointed out the photograph of one of the convicts, and didn't the convicts all look like early Kings of Leon? That was quite amusing. You could dub Molly's Chambers over a few montage shots in this episode, and punters wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I was sort of impressed that I'd seen this photograph on Twitter. Someone pointed out that the screamer was more visible in the blurry production photograph. You didn't actually see them on screen at all. So that was interesting, a little disappointing. It was very, very interesting. It was fascinating being able to watch it. And again, a bit more Brett was good. Really liked how they were forming a unit, because I then had to, after it finished, I had to explain to my mum and Alison, because we did watch the start of episode 5, and the Doctor and Stephen are like, right, where's Brett? He'll be here in a minute, and they don't know that he's dead yet. Spoilers. So that was interesting. Really frustrating that we couldn't go into straight away to watch episode 4. But I liked it a lot. A little bit, not as much of a narrative push forward as episode 2. A bit of a sidestep. I love the shot of the spar taking off and flying through space. That was a treat.
Real surprise, that.
Yeah, and it was good to see all the politics between Mavic Chen and Zephon with his hood off and getting executed. And I think he had a fair point. Some of the stuff he was saying about Mavic Chen, but it was cracking. It was good, and it was just maddening that we couldn't just go straight into the next one. But it was really good fun. I think I would agree with Kenny's point. Episode 2 is probably better because a bit more happens in it, but getting to see a bit more Hartnell Purvis action, getting to see a bit more of Adrian Hill, getting to see a bit more of Nicholas, it was really good.
I would agree with all the above. I thought that it was really, given it so much of, a significant part of the action takes place within Mavic Chen's spaceship. I thought that was really well realised, and a lot of the shots were really good. And it was good, as you said, that they did kind of recognise the fact that Stephen was meant to be a pilot too. Again, as you were saying, about Desperate, I thought that was really well realised, and you said a lot of people are getting excited about the torches, but justifiably so.
Oh yeah, it was great.
It was really that really stood out for me, and I thought Mavic Chen came into his own in lots of interesting ways, especially in that kind of back and forth with Zephon, but also in his really nasty coolness after Zephon gets exterminated or executed. What is it they shout as they
execute?
Yeah. So I thought, that was really good. The sadness, you know what's going to happen with Katrina, but there's still a bit of a shock factor in kind of seeing it, the kind of set up to it.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, the cliffhanger's brilliant.
Yeah. And as you said there, David, it's just, it sounds so ungrateful, but it's just frustrating that we can't continue into the next episode. But yeah, and for me, I thought I just loved again that whole thing about just new angles into Hartnell. I thought the Daleks were really, really good in this too. I was just kind of working out that I'm actually the same age as Hartnell was, and those when he was filming that, and someone who grew up just off the back of Dalek mania in the 70s. So I just can't get enough of new shots of the Daleks, and they do look so good. And as you were saying, you also their voices have settled into the classic Dalek register that have become so that's been so familiar to us from them. So yeah, a lovely Easter treat.
Well, I was so frustrated because I got to the cliffhanger and then I'm clicking on the next episode and forgetting that it's not there. So there you go. That's how much it hooked me in. And again, nice set pieces, a nice set for the ship, and to go to the expense of doing the penal planet. Because you could have done that in inverted commas off screen. You didn't have to develop that. But again, nice bit of direction, good use of Daleks. I know, can you say you have bad use of Daleks? But sometimes when you shoot them, it's just repetitive, and it's not. It's trying to do something different. Even though they seem to like to hug Mavic Chen from time to time. I don't know if you noticed that. They get really close. to him. You know, there's a sucker across the tummy at some point and hugging Daleks, and you know he's standing too close, whether that's direction that kind of bumps into him, and he kind of beats it back a little bit. So I don't know if that's intentional or just a really small set. And from the plot point of view, I mean, it's interesting. At Terry Nation, and we've got a penal planet, so we're setting up for Blake 7, aren't we? How many years in the future?
Yeah, totally.
Not that many.
Totally thought that, yeah.
And even because, you know, those characters are almost inconsequential, but he builds characters that you think, oh, they're going to have a major part, and oh, they've left now. You know, I don't know if we see them again, do we?
No, they're gone.
So they're gone. So, you know, again, could have been done much cheaper, but they decided to do. So, yeah, another great episode. It's interesting with Hartnell. Sometimes I remember, or maybe I misremember, that he's always with a companion. He's always explaining. It's sometimes nice to see him off doing his own thing, which he was doing in previous episodes, and then coming back to the companions to do. Again, we had that lovely, I'm misquoting here. Oh, you know, Nicholas Courtney says, well, you know, there's not enough power in that, blah, 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 to kill them. I'm not killing them.
Yes.
You know, let's just reiterate to the children that I'm not a mass murderer. Yet, obviously.
Yeah.
I think we had a Hartnellism, though. I can't remember.
There's a couple...
Daleks will stop at anything, I think is what I heard.
Yes.
Yeah, there's another one where he gets a close-up and he stumbles briefly and you can see him. Peter's out of camera shot, but you can see him sort of obviously locking eyes with Purvis.
Yeah.
And because he says it again correctly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of these things, people always, I mean, I don't mind the belly fluff. It can be quite funny. But you always sort of wish that a lot of fans that don't rate him will use that as a reason to slag him off.
Yeah.
To his detriment. And you just realise if they had the luxury of, being able to do second takes or run through again, that wouldn't be an issue,
But it adds to the charm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, and you guys have probably seen more of the recreations than I have, but is the amount of moustache twisting that goes on with Mavic Chen across these episodes I watched. Does that come through? Did that ever come through in the reanimations or anything?
The only one I've seen was just basically just static images with surviving material dropped in.
I've not watched Ian Latrine's version.
Well, there's at least 2 opportunities for YouTube viewers at home. They can see me twiddling my moustache, where he utters his line.
My wee sister thought it was hilarious the way he was writing his minutes. The way he holds his pen. I'm writing my minutes.
And a strange greeting with his hands when he's clasped them.
Did you see? I retweeted it. Someone had posted a shot of him with his hands here and a shot of him with his hands here, and captioned it Shakira.
One does wonder in a modern environment whether we could think of any leader who perhaps made ill-made decisions and signs his signature in weird ways and does weird things with his hands. I'm struggling to think of anyone in that could.
And an egomaniac.
Well, that as well. But I mean, who could it be?
Did anyone see Matthew Sweet's post on Twitter when he said this story and so all of it, especially the episodes involved, was Doctor Who on the Vietnam War? I have to admit, I didn't really get what he meant, to be honest.
No, I haven't seen that.
I saw that.
Someone who's obviously less thick than me can write to the earth2podcast@gmail.com and spell out the similarities between the Vietnam War and what Doctor Who and the Dalek Master Plan was saying about it, because I didn't know. I don't know. There might be something really obvious, but I'm not afraid to admit that I didn't get it. Didn't get what he meant. Someone let me know, please. Right, let me know in the comments.
Absolutely.
One more thing I would say about the whole lot of episodes I've watched, and this won't come across in an animation, but it's nice to see Daleks that maybe have seen a bit of action. They're a bit biffed. They're not ultimately shiny. They're pretty, but they look used, and I think Daleks should look used because they don't just nip about the spaceship feather dusting each other to look pretty. They're out there working. So. Yeah. I don't think that gets told on a recreation, but you get that on the shot. Now, I realise some of it's incidental because the props have been around and they've been in store and they've been in this, but I like sci-fi that has used stuff.
Yeah. Proper Daleks, eh?
Proper Daleks.
Yeah. But I thought there was some really nice stuff in the I say, Dave, the stuff like the spar taking off was really nice. Not expecting that. The stuff with the 3 torches approaching, again, really good. I thought I was a bit surprised at Zephon's death. The fact that you can see he's actually shaking because he knows what's coming.
Yeah.
And the fact that he looks like somewhere between seaweed and a cabbage. I thought that was quite a nice touch. And the fact that the Doctor's got his cowl over his head and has to remove that as well as the hood.
Yeah.
And there's that sort of containing that look, and I thought that was quite a nice touch.
Yeah.
There's so many little bits in there that you'd never expect. Even things like the controls of the spar, with the way the lights go around and the patterns of the controls. It looks gorgeous. Really, really nicely
done. And in colour, that must have been really pretty.
And it just leaves that sort of feeling of wanting more. I mean, yes, some of the clips in these episodes were familiar that have been recovered. Like obviously, episode 3, there was a bit in Blue Peter with the as they cluster around when the Daleks take control of the ship, and obviously in episode 1 there's the recovered inserts. But it was still really nice to see everything in sort of full context. And the fact we've got a little bit of episode 4, but we'll come to episode 4 and the rest of it shortly. In fact, why don't we take a quick pause? And we've got some friends popping by to tell us what they think of these episodes. Some of them, I don't know how they've managed to see it in Australia. Who knows? Let's start with my oldest fan friend, Doctor Who magazine writer and designer, and the author of the fanzine book, Alistair McGowan.
Hello there, Kenny. Such times to be alive. What amazing news. What an amazing day for all Doctor Who fans. What to say about there's so much new stuff we could never have known about in these episodes, isn't there? Just really, even small things are big, because without telesnaps we knew so little. Even that big Ida-4 projection inside the spar of space with Hartnell standing next to it, doesn't that look fantastic? All those wig malfunction moments, which are great, I think some intentional, some less so. And a sort of big takeaway for me was the D on the back of the boiler suits on the desperate prisoners, which, wow, that's amazing. That's a choice. But more seriously, I mean, such absolute delights everywhere, wasn't there? But I think the thing that I'd sort of want to say is, and somebody should ask Peter Purvis this, I suppose, how on earth did Douglas Camfield achieve all that on a production that was taped as live? All the blocking, all the shot composition, the lighting, even getting the Daleks to properly composed in shots and not having them sort of bumping into the scenery and the tops coming loose and all this kind of nonsense. Just everything's so smooth. I mean, he must have worked so hard on that, and he must have worked his actors very hard. He must have been so meticulous in where you stood and which camera you were on. Hartnell seems to know exactly which camera he's on all the time. So just a stunning production, really, and a real credit to Camfield. Still, the best classic series, if we call it that, director that there ever was, I think. But another thing is taken away from these is how good Adrienne Hill is, and how good Katarina is. Really charming. So she does so much as kind of reacting to things and visual things, which we would never, were completely oblivious to. Previously, we might have thought she was just somebody who did very few lines, because she doesn't have that many lines. A lot of it is the kind of wandering around and reacting, and she does that really beautifully. So, a real appreciation for what she does in this. Although, can we finally, everyone, just say she's not a companion? She's not a companion. She's there to, wrong foot the audience into thinking she's a companion, but she isn't. So put away your lists, you crazy fans. She's not a companion. Anyway, what times to be alive, as I said. Amazing to have 2 episodes back. 13 years since we've had anything, which is far too long. And really just thanks to all that film's fabulous and all the work they do. And also to the anonymous collector and his family for sharing this with us. Just incredible. Here's hoping that there's many more. Okay, thanks, Kenny.
Hi, I'm Martin Montague. I work in radio as a producer, director and writer, and it's been absolutely fabulous having these 2 episodes of the Dalek Master Plan back. It's not my era of Doctor Who. The 1980s were more my thing, and so it's interesting diving back, and there's a sort of preconception of what 60s Doctor Who was going to be like, and I was really surprised by the pace and the scope, the scale of it, all of the planet hopping, the different cast. It in some ways it actually felt really modern. Obviously the production values and the style of the production are very 1960s. There's something almost theatrical about it, but it's just great to have this snapshot, this look back into the history of the programme. The biggest surprise, though, was the Daleks. I'd forgotten that they haven't always said exterminate, and so in here we have execute and eliminate, almost like trying out a few catchphrases before they settle on one that will catch on. All in all, great stuff, and let's just hope we don't have to wait another 60 years for the remaining episodes to turn up.
Hey, Kenny and David, it's Brandon Peters here from the Brandon Peters Show. I am just over the moon here with these 2 returned episodes from Film is Fabulous of the part 1 and 3 of the Daleks Master Plan. First instant reaction takes is Douglas Camfield, a director we're already impressed with at the top of the list for Doctor Who, becomes even more impressive here with bold, brave, and innovative camera movements that listening to the audio or watching a reconstruction, I could never have imagined, even in my higher expectations with the reality of how the studio filming situation is back then, and just wow. It's a little bit more darker episodes than I imagined. And I think also next to Douglas Camfield, Katerina by Adrian Hill you get more of her, and I really like what a soft, gentle person she is. She's confused, she's lost, but she is choosing the path of kindness and help where needed. She's got some great moments with Hartnell. Of course, I'll be the billionth person to point out the scene where she's touching the window and looking out at the stars. It's magnificent. It's also haunting. And then when you combine that with the Devil's Planet having the foreshadowing about the airlock with Stephen making a mention of it early on and coming into play, that's just amazing. These episodes were just a revelation to watch, and just I couldn't believe. I still can't believe I'm watching them. Loose Cannon's been great for years and stuff, and still appreciate that they can plug the gaps here. But man, these were fun, and completing this story shot up so much after this. And even if bare minimum we could just get the traitors back, so we could have a 5-episode run uninterrupted by having to switch to an audio or a reconstruction, or maybe in the future an animation, would be amazing. That's how my missing episodes priorities have sort of changed after this, because of wow, these are actually really, really good episodes, and I'm going to give credit to Douglas Camfield for that. So thank you too for wanting my thoughts and opinions. I'm sure I've left out some and I have more, but this is my close to instant reaction and thoughts I've had today, and I'm going to be watching these on overload and can't wait for more. Thank you, Film is Fabulous. Thank you, everyone involved with getting this and putting it out for the people to watch in many areas as quickly as you did. Oh, what a day, guys.
Hello, I'm Alan McQuan, former group coordinator of the Glasgow Doctor Who Society. It's a well-known fact, to those who know it well, that I'm not a massive fan of the Daleks Master Plan. In fact, I've always viewed it as a load of pointless, plotless, near-random nonsense. The Daleks have a weapon. The Doctor nicks the batteries. 3 months of increasingly desperate, time-wasting padding ensues, during which I can only imagine Terry Nation and Dennis Spooner sitting in their underpants, weeping over their typewriters and consuming industrial quantities of cocaine as they try to fill the running time with anything at all, before the Doctor finally returns the batteries, having known all along that the weapon would backfire and destroy the Daleks themselves. My opinion, however, has been completely changed by the recovery of episodes 1 and 3, and I now view it as an exceptionally well-directed and well-acted load of pointless, plotless, near-random nonsense. But hey, I'm really pleased for those who don't share my opinion on the story, and the very fact that these episodes have been recovered at all brings hope that more episodes are still out there, waiting to be found. And that is always a very good thing.
Hello, Power of Three. Craig Brawley here. Well, like all responsible citizens, I was up at the crack of dawn to watch the first 3 episodes of the Dalek Master Plan. Finally, we get to see Nicholas Courtney's first wonderful appearance, and you'd be forgiven that thinking he's about to replace Peter Purvis as the show's co-lead. Less of an impact is made by the dreary Katerina, of whom the production team must have been kicking themselves that they even went down that path. But the real star of the show is Douglas Camfield's direction. The gentle bickering between Roald and Lisanne, the unexpectedly good shot of Mavic Chen's ship in flight, the fight for dominance amongst the prisoners on Desperos, none of this feels like the plodding scenes that blight other stories of this era. And 50 more minutes of William Hartnell. The original, you might say.
Greetings there, Kenny. It's Philip here from the Sirens of Audio podcast, and also Blake 7 The Way Back, a new video podcast that you'll also find on Apple other places. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk a bit about the Dalek Master Plan and the 2 missing episodes. It's so exciting to have these back. I know I saw information about it. It was interesting because in Australia we got information during the day, and it occurred to me that all my friends in the UK and America, none of them knew yet because they were all asleep. And so the conversation started around Australia and around Australian fans, and lots of people were messaging me. But when it was great when UK woke up and America woke up, and suddenly there was all this worldwide fandom happening. We've been wanting these episodes back for a long time, and in fact, it wasn't that long ago, I think, that you asked what episodes did I want back, and I had a number of episodes from the Dalek Master Plan. This is by far, I think, my favourite First Doctor story, and what I'd been wanting to see for a long, long time. And I'm pretty sure I meant to go back and check. I said episodes 1 and 3 and 11 and 12. So I scored pretty well with getting 1 and 3. And being able to watch, and I must admit, I actually watched 1, 2, 3 in order yesterday when I first got to preview them. I had to watch the second episode as well just to remind myself of that. It was just amazing to see how this show was put together and how it still stands the test of time. The Daleks are just amazing. The direction, I mean, Douglas Camfield, what an amazing director he is. I've started doing research and working on the episode of Jewel from Blake 7, which is the only Blake 7 episode that he directed. And just seeing what he did. And Douglas Camfield and Terry Nation together, they just know how to make action and life, things that shouldn't be alive, come to life. And Jewel is wonderful, but just to go back to see these Doctor Who episodes. Comments, well, there was all sorts of things I just didn't know were going to be there. And so seeing Katerina, I think in some parts, Katerina's been the most refreshing part for me. It was nice seeing her in episode 2, but it was just a bit disjointed. Seeing her in 3 episodes, though, I have become really quite fond of her. I love her innocence. I love her care for the Doctor. There's just little moments between the two of them where they touch, hold hands. They're just shoulder to shoulder. And you can see her love for the Doctor. It's what every companion you want to have, which is a companion excited by travel. And there's that wonderful shot that you see her where she's staring out into space and her hand up to the viewing screen as you realise she's just in awe of this moment. I was impressed by her outfit. I think, she was wearing the same episode as episode 2, but episode 1 and 3 are so much cleaner than episode 2. And to see the design on her costume, it's a nothing, I know, but it just flows so well and looks so lovely on her. And she's innocent but beautiful. And it must have made the following episode, when it ended in episode 3 with her being grabbed, my heart went to my mouth. Now, had I been seeing it live back then and not knowing what happened next, I would never have believed that they would have killed her off. Because the Doctor's companion is always safe. But knowing what her fate is going to be in the next episode just made that whole ending and that cliffhanger all the more tragic, because I knew it was coming. Anyhow, I'm rambling on. A few other quick bits and pieces. The Planet Desperus, that's the shot they had with the burning torches coming down the hill. That was just such an amazing shot, and the planet was so alien, which was just great to see. Nicholas Courtney, what an amazing performance he gives. Kurt Gantry, I can't think of the actor's name, I apologise for that. What an amazing death scene. And that final shot of him lying there dead, there's no way that would have passed Australian censors. In fact, as an Australian, I was sitting there watching this, just seeing what the Australian censors would have cut out and why they would have come to the conclusion they just couldn't show this show. There was just too much happening that poor Australian censors and, poor Australians with such sensitive so-and-sos, they wouldn't have been allowed to show. Anyway, I'm still just in glory. I've watched them through twice now. I'll watch them through again tomorrow. I think I'll watch them daily for a week or so, just until they get really ingrained in my head. But Peter Purves, William Hartnell, Adrian Hill, Nicholas Courtney, stunning performances. Kevin Stoney, his performances was great. Seeing all so there's so much happening. Anyhow, I'm thrilled to have it back, and I hope other people are just as excited as I am, and I can't wait to hear the highlights that other people had. So anyhow, take care and have a lovely Easter.
I'm Ian McLaughlin. I write stuff. So, new episodes of Dalek's Master Plan back. Brilliant. There's some sort of mystical about the lost episodes. I think like a lot of people, I thought we'd never dip under 100 missing, but I am just so glad to be wrong on that. The Master Plan's right up there on the list for most people of the one they want back. I'm not the biggest Daleks fan in general, but having these was like having every Christmas as a kid all over again. It was wonderful. The episodes, and I watched them today, they did not disappoint. The script feels really big, even though it's recorded in a tiny wee studio in London. It just feels like it's got scope. It's very Terry Nation stuff. If you saw it without a credit at the start, you'd know that Terry Nation wrote it just from the names. It's really good, solid stuff. I think the real joy for me is in the performances. William Hartnell has some lovely, lovely moments in it. When he sees the Daleks and flattens himself against the wall and gives that Daleks moment, that's great. That's just really good stuff. And I particularly liked him being so pleased with himself and having a little happy moment working things out and being so chuffed that he'd worked stuff out. And then the soon-to-be Brigadier sticks a gun in his neck. But I think William Hartnell's really, really good there. That's just great stuff. Peter Purves is an underestimated companion. I think he's always really solid, really good. And he's the same here. He's excellent. Katrina is a character I tend to overlook a lot just because she's not been around much. But I thought she was really interesting in these and gave a really different dynamic to the whole thing. She was somebody I'd like to have seen a lot more of. Nick Courtney, though, is just Nick Courtney, and he was always great in just about everything. And he's a really good Brett Vian. The opening with Brian Cant is really good character stuff, and they both play it really well. I've got to say the direction from Douglas Camfield is very, very good. He gets an awful lot out of that little studio, and he makes the Daleks and the aliens look really good. That sort of upshot of the Dalek just before it kills Brian Cant is terrific, and it's just about as good as you can make a Dalek look. It looks big and imposing and scary and deadly. I thought he filmed them really, really well. I'm saying really a lot, and I really shouldn't. I think the whole thing just looked fabulous. I did say I'm not the biggest fan of the Daleks, but geez, I want to see the rest of the Daleks master plan now. So if anybody's got the episodes, could you ping them back, please?
My name is James Hadwin Bennett, and I run the HB WhoTube channel on YouTube. Trying to put into words my thoughts on the Daleks master plan is a challenge. So much of the time they're either incredibly positive or remarkably negative, and there's very little in the middle. Everything about the Hartnell era can be pretty much summed up with the 2 rediscovered episodes. You've got fantastically experimental character design. You've got sets that refuse to look as though they're in a cramped television studio. And then we open with episode 1 and get half an episode that feels like it's characters standing in a line and watching party political broadcasts on television. I love this convenience of the TARDIS door sound being heard loudly outside the ship, just as Brett needs to be alerted. Something that I don't think happens or we don't hear in any other story. I love how the costume people have seemingly emptied a bucket of seaweed over someone's head to make them look like an alien, but it absolutely works. We've got companions that aren't from remotely near the 21st century, but I can empathize with them. And I know that now we've got 2 more episodes of Katharina in the flesh. That's just going to make her death scene even more harrowing. You've got Hartnell delivering an absolutely magnificent performance, even if the lines aren't quite the same as those on the pages of the script. And Peter Purvis, cool as a cucumber, he just carries on and pulls the action back to the dialogue that's written when it's needed. I don't think Dalek Master Plan is ever going to be my favourite story or even top 10, but I will say that I think these 2 new episodes go a long way to suggesting it might be one of the most visually interesting stories of the 60s. I want the remaining episodes back so I can see loads of new spaceship interiors. I want to see the bizarre creatures. And at the end of the 2 episodes that we got today, I could so easily see Hartnell turning to the camera at the end and wishing a happy Easter to all of you at home.
Well, hello, listeners to The Power of 3. This is Steve Higgins, and I would like to thank Kenny, first of all, for inviting me to voice my thoughts on the recovered episodes of the Daleks Master Plan. I was so thrilled, first of all, that we didn't have a long wait for them, as often happens for us American fans. You all have been talking about the release of the season 21 Blu-rays, and we have months to go on that. You know, we still haven't seen the war between the land and the sea at all, but we got these recovered episodes the same day as you, and it was thrilling to get to watch them. It was an absolute joy to wake up that morning and put them on and get to see these episodes. I really tried as I watched to put myself in the shoes of a viewer back then, what they must have felt like to have the twists not spoiled for them, to not have any foreknowledge like we do. And because of that, you know, the moments like when the Daleks show up for the first time in the first episode, and when Mavic Chen is revealed to be on their side, you know, really were thrilling moments. And, you know, it's hard to watch them divorced of your foreknowledge of what's going to happen to poor doomed Katharina. It just makes her character all the more tragic as you watch, and Brett Vion as well, to watch him go from a potential enemy to a potential ally, and to know that he's then gone a couple of episodes later is really just sad. And it's got such gravitas, and the sets are amazing, and the model work is amazing, and the acting is brilliant. And yeah, I was just blown away, and my God, wouldn't it be amazing if they recovered some more of the episodes too. But for now, I'm just very thankful that we've finally gotten to see some of these classics. And thank you again for asking my thoughts.
talk to you all soon.
Walter Dunlop here. If you told the 12-year-old me, who was horror-struck about that list of missing episodes DWM published back in the early 80s, that one day I'd end up watching the first 3 episodes of Masterplan in a row at the touch of a button, I'd almost certainly not believe you. Then I'd probably faint. As it is, I have just watched the first 3 episodes of Masterplan, and full of surprises, aren't they? So many things even the most painstaking recon can't catch. So many little details, like that interior TARDIS noise sounding faintly when Hartnell steps out of the TARDIS and the nightmare begins, Roald sarcastically lip-syncing along with Mavic Chen's speech, the gruesome corpse of Mark Corey, the even more gruesome remains of a play school presenter, Hartnell getting increasingly impatient in episode 3 leading up to the great phrase, "footling with a fuse box," that effect shot of the prisoners on Desperos marching towards the ship, just some lights in a skyline, but so effective. All those delegates, some more ridiculous than others. I enjoyed it so much. I didn't expect to like it this much. Masterplan's never been a favourite, but I do like it a lot more than I ever did before. I think we all owe Film is Fabulous and the people who worked to make it available on iPlayer for us one hell of a thank you.
Greetings, this is Chris from the All New Adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast, coming to you live from EasterCon in Birmingham, where I have been watching 3 consecutive episodes of the Dalek Master Plan. I never thought we'd be able to say that. It's just amazing to be able to see it. And what have been the highlights for me? Well, I think spending more time with Katrina, and the more time you spend with her, like the more tragic her death is, and also as well you kind of think, how must that have landed with the audience when they were watching for the very first time? Also, I think for me, probably the highlight of these episodes is the sequence in the first episode where you have the man and the woman watching Mavic Chen's broadcast, and you have the woman who is very, very kind of like pro Chen in a kind of MAGA-esque way, or MAGA, or however one says it, and you've got her male work colleague who is just mouthing along as Mavic Chen's speech carries on, and you see he is so cynical, but she has clearly drunk the Chen Kool-Aid, and like that's something that just, I think for me, just speaks over the intervening 60 years, and just go, oh yeah, wow, timely. But yeah, I do slightly wonder if the episode could have done with a previously, given that the episode kind of, the first episode relies upon us remembering that Stephen was injured during the Mythmakers, because I think audiences might kind of think, oh, hang on, have I missed something? And yes, you have. You've missed the Mythmakers. But, like, I don't know whether you are going to have a casual iPlayer audience just kind of, like, picking up that first episode. But, yeah, they make it a little bit foreign. But if they stick around, then, yeah, there's some great stuff. And, yeah, Mavic Chen is evil. And, yeah. And the Daleks, it's just, I'm inarticulate with joy, if you can be such a thing, at being able to watch the Dalek Master Plan, because I just remember loving the novelisation back in the late 80s, and being able to see it is just such a treat. So anyway, I shall leave you be, and do hope that you can join us on the All New Adventures of Doctor Who Book Club podcast at some point, where no doubt we'll be kind of discussing the Dark Master Plan. But alas, we will probably never discuss a story featuring Katerina or his review on, because I don't think there's any prose featuring her, just because how short-lived she was. apart from the Seventh Doctor just and various other Doctors beating themselves up about her death. But yeah, poor Katerina. I hope she found that place of affection.
And finally, it's Simon Messingham, our podcast pal.
Hello, Kenny. Hello, Kenny. Simon here. I'm just ringing to say, yes, I absolutely love the 2 new episodes that have been found. What a fantastic thing to learn, even now, after so many decades. It was just perfect World War II in 60s pop space. I love it. It's Terry Nation's single story stretched out. Nick Courtney's in it. Brian Cant's in it. It's fantastic. William Hartnell, yes, he obviously is struggling, but it isn't too bad. I do love, however, genuinely love him. The Daleks will stop at anything. Fantastic. And yeah, it's bleak, it's brutal, it's Terry Nation, it's with jungles, it's natives being suppressed, it's silly named planets. I love the fact that, look, we can't see anything. Look at the ship over there crashing. Look at the city. I must walk there. Or everything about it is fantastic. I don't think I need any more of the Dalek Master Plan, but what we have is absolutely brilliant. Bye-bye.
So pick a favourite episode of these 3.
I think for me, it has to be the first one, The Nightmare Begins, just because The Nightmare Begins and Nicholas Courtney, and it's pretty, and it's well directed. And did I mention it's pretty?
Yep, I agree. I would have to say I would go for episode 1, although episode 3 is also fantastic. But just the fact that it gives us just that visual anchor in the story, and as I said, I love the kind of the world building stuff. I just thought that was really, really well done. Yeah, just an interesting nod to a different way of storytelling. So yeah, episode 1 for me.
Probably a tie, to be honest, between 2 and 3. I like it, but I like the reasons that I like them are probably they really share the same reason. Lots of Daleks. Great to see Nicholas Courtney interacting with other established regulars so much, playing a different part, and all the delegate stuff and the little special effects surprises here and there. Probably a tie between 2 and 3, and and on that sort of quality, I think.
Interesting, because I like episode 1 for the world building, episode 2 for the action, and episode 3 for the character building. And I think that they're all very worthy, but I think 2 still edges it for me, because I do like the ambassadors and the weird running around and such likes, and I think it's just the action ups the pacing a bit, and again, all so well directed. And I just think this is just a quarter of the story gone, and the fact there's still so much to go, which so frustrating.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it really goes off in some interesting sort of directions, like, and if you factor in all the stories that Big Finish have done, you could be there for months. It's because it starts off with that, the sort of it's a bit James Bondy, the whole breaking at the base and stealing the plans sort of thing, and then it's for a few episodes it's a bit of a sequel to The Chase. And then the closing, the 2 or 3 episodes, they're all back in Kemble, and the Doctor goes missing for a while, and Stephen and Sarah, and the final, all the stuff in Destruction of Time. I mean, the obvious question is, like, when are we going to get anything else soon? What's it going to be? And I'm just like, please, if we got a couple more episodes of this story, if we got the last 2 episodes, it would just be amazing, just to be able to. We've just over 20 years. We've gone from having 2 episodes to 5. Who knows what could happen in the next 20 years?
So at this rate, it should probably be complete by about 2074 in time for my 100th birthday.
Great.
Yeah, I'll be dead by then. Not to worry.
Possibly, with the wonders of the internet, people are still listening to us in the year, what was it, Kenny?
2074.
So if you're still living, if you're still listening to us in 2074, maybe you can also still email to podcast@gmail.com.
Yes, Peter will definitely be dead by then.
Cyber Peter will be alive, though his brain will be uploaded.
Just upload your thoughts directly into his neural link.
It'll be like Dennis Potter's Cold Lazarus. Yeah, that'll be it. That'll be Peter. Hi, Peter, if you're listening.
in the future in 2074. We hope that your artificial intelligence brain is very well. No, I mean, I'm now thinking you're looking to the future. Obviously, we've got this release here. There are 5 episodes, and no doubt the BBC will be looking to monetize them by doing the full restorations on the picture and the audio. And of course, how do you do it? Do you do 4 telesnaps? We know that animation would take a long time to do. And if they do the animation, do they just do the missing episodes, keep it black and white, keep it in 4:3 ratio, and that might speed things up? I don't know.
But I'm not sure. Have they got telesnaps for this story?
No, they don't exist, but they can create them. They've created them for other stories before. I
don't know. It would maybe, I don't know if it'd be practical for them to do some print on demand thing, or just to offer these 2 episodes on their own on a direct sort of mail order thing. Might be a way. I don't know. It would be nice to have them, certainly. But oh God, what if there's more?
That's the question.
Yes.
That is the thing, because I mean, if I was thinking, if we were to do the episode that we did a few months ago with the pick 4 episodes, I'd probably put Master Plan 4 in there now, because I want to have that run complete. Because I'm a loser and I like to have complete runs. Yes, it'll break again, but I'd like to have that complete sequential run.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things, isn't it? When you go back to the old argument, or the old pondering problem, would you want a full story? Would you want a few more orphan episodes that plug gaps? Would you rather have 2 episodes of the Space Pirates or the 2 episodes of the Invasion? That sort of thing. Would you want 2 episodes of Abominable Snowmen, or would you want the 2 episodes of Ice Warriors? It's a really interesting point. Right now, I mean, I don't think my picks have changed. I would still quite like to see some of the Massacre, still quite like to see some of the Highlanders, but I'm pretty sure that when we did which episodes we wanted episode, I'm pretty sure I suggested something from the Dalek Master Plan.
12, I think it was. Dave.
So I would still want to see the Destruction of Time. But God, it's anything, and and we should say, it's the vibes are very positive. They seem to be that I've seen quotes from Paul Vanessa sort of saying, I saw some screen grabs, I think it's from Gallifrey Base. Someone had asked him, 1 being low and 10 being high, what are the chances do you think we're going to get anything else in the next little while or soon? And Paul said 10. So I just hope, it'd be amazing. Because, we all felt when we did the episodes before, Kenny and Brandon and I did an episode where after the Film is Fabulous team had sort of, been very positive and forthright, and then it went very quiet, and we all started going, all right, maybe they shouldn't have said anything, and then realised it went all very quiet was because they're obviously planning, they'd got them, and they were getting them cleaned up and worked on, and, to be fair, and they've done all this in the space of just a few months. And all credit to them. Listeners, if you haven't given any money or donated to the efforts of Film is Fabulous, please do so. Just bung them another tenner like I'm going to do. They've done a great job. And I'm still so thrilled for Peter Purvis. That's my main takeaway of the whole thing. The clips of him and Toby. Toby said, right, I've got you here under false pretenses. We're not going to be doing an interview. I'm going to be showing you episode 1 of the Dalek Master Plan. And then Peter realising they're going to show him episode 3 as well. It's been a really, really good time. My biggest takeaway with this whole thing is I'm still just so really pleased for Peter Purvis.
The one that makes me feel sad is that Donald Tosh isn't here, because I got to know Donald a few years ago when I interviewed him for the Records Scottish people who've worked in Doctor Who supplement, and Donald was lovely. I mean, the man's a bit of an enigma. His memories completely went against everything that everybody else remembered and went against official BBC paperwork. And he was absolutely certain in some things, but he was brilliant, really funny, really good company, and with a nickname of Knocker, because he knocked things into shape. So he's known as Knocker Tosh.
Interesting.
So, yeah. But, I really wish that he could have got in these, because the tone of these episodes is so different from, you look at The Mythmakers, which is pretty much a comedy and carry on in places. And then it gets really grim and serious. And Master Plan, there are very few moments to smile over those first few episodes there.
Yeah. Although tonally, there is a kind of a shift, isn't there, between the Nation and the Spooner episodes?
Yeah, because there's that whole story that Dennis Spooner's buzzer went downstairs, and Terry Nation handed him an envelope full of like 12 sheets of A4 and then run off for his taxi to fly off and start doing something for ITC, you know. But I think there's a slight tone, because it gets a bit silly when, not silly, it gets a bit more light-hearted, I think, when the monk turns up. And that's quite fun. But after that, it gets deadly serious again. The last couple of episodes are fantastic. Very, very grim.
It's as grim as anything Doctor Who's ever done. It's more grim than Resurrection of the Daleks.
Which I have decided I loathe Resurrection. Watching some on the S21, but oh god, don't start me. I'm going to zip myself. Not enough.
I think that there's a bigger question to be asked here is whether museums and stuff should maybe be selling Campbell mint cake to increase profits.
Who was your favourite ITV newsreader when you were younger?
ITV?
Or was he BBC? I can't remember.
BBC, as in the War Machines.
Was it Kenneth Campbell? Jokes.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that's
honestly. I'll get my coat.
Talking of the War Machines, it's quite scary when you watch this to think that by the time, 12 months later, this entire team have gone. Hartnell's gone. Everybody has been replaced, and it's a completely different show. And it's, I don't know if the Billy Fluffs that you mentioned are sort of, his illness, arteriosclerosis, sort of beginning. I don't know. It's interesting.
I don't know enough about the condition to sort of say, but let's not focus on the fluffs. Let's focus on the rest of the time and what a great characterization that he nurtured and shaped during his 3 years. He was
and his nylon wig
built it all up from nothing. And laid a path that many other people could follow, and we wouldn't be having this conversation without him. Let's focus on that, shall we?
Absolutely. It was just a thought of you've got that energy and it's so serious, and then just 12 months later, a completely different show.
Yeah,
with Daleks, but that's
exactly. Yeah, it's the same thing that happens. Absolutely. Look at again mentioning season 21. It's fascinating to think how often that does happen. There's a few periods of stability in Doctor Who, but then there are these other ones where everything just ups and swirls and does something else.
Absolutely. Thank goodness for Clara Oswald for keeping things constant during a period of Doctor Who when the Doctor changed. And we'll maybe not go there because Dave will want to throw a shoe at me, probably.
I wouldn't really. I'm over it. It's a long time ago. It's in the past. It's like, I'm not mad about it. It's like the Louisiana Purchase. It's in the past.
One of the tumultuous periods was around about Horror of Fang Rock, and look what that created. And with a lot of this stuff, whether it's films or television, sometimes an uneasy situation and an uneasy cast and an uneasy crew can produce something wonderful.
Of course. Some people do their best work under pressure.
Yep.
Right, everyone, one final question. If I told you that I'd got a bucket here with a missing episode in it, which episode do you want it to be? Just one episode. Right now, what do you want? John?
Not from the Dalek Master Plan necessarily.
It can be whatever you want.
I don't want to sound as I'm sicking in with you, but there's a bit of me that would be interested in the Traitors.
But what? Less about Claudia Winkleman. Which episode of the Dalek Master Plan?
Episode 4. Sorry. Yes.
It's episode 4 for me as well.
Yeah. Dave, one episode. All of Doctor Who's missing episodes. Where'd you go?
Beast of Death. Sorry. I want to see the Abbot of Amboise. Sorry. My second pick, if I'm honest, would probably be the Traitors. Yes.
There we go. Well, that's been brilliant. Remember, guys, if you're listening and enjoyed what we've done and want to share your thoughts on these episodes, please do paste them onto our Facebook page, which is The Power of 3. We have our Twitter, which is at Power of 3 Pod with a number 3, and of course we're on Blue Sky as well at Finished Zine. So, fellas, I've actually got a track in mind to play out with, and I think it actually kind of works. But do we have anybody else with a suggestion that I could mash up? If not, we'll go with mine.
I was going to try and think of something that was in the charts when these episodes were recovered, but I haven't done the preparation, so we'll just go with what you've got.
Okie dokie. Well, it's one that seems appropriate for Mavic Chen and the Daleks because it's a track called I've Got Plans Involving You, which is an old Pet Shop Boys song, but only recently
God, Pet Shop Boys.
Pet Shop Boys.
It's a bloody Pet Shop Boys, sweetie.
Right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
you're looking left and right. Have you got time to spare? I'm sorry to bother you. Have you got the time there? I've got some to lose if you want some to share. 'Cause I've got plans involving you. Gonna put them into operation, just you wait and see. I've got plans involving you. Gonna put them into operation.